Hello, everyone. Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Wednesday. I hope the week is going okay wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. The international break is now done. It is finished with those games last night. So all attention turns to the Premier League this weekend and the small matter of a North London derby at Spurs. So plenty to discuss in today's show. We've had the latest update on Martin Odegaard from the Norway team doctor, who's been speaking to Norwegian media this morning, giving an update on Odegaard's status after that ankle injury he suffered in their win against Austria. We're going to sort of round up last night's international action, lots of Arsenal interest in that as well. We'll look at Ben White, who Lee Carsley has been speaking about in terms of his potential return to the international frame, and lots more, including reaction from you guys to what we spoke about yesterday. Now, first of all, I'm sitting down with James Benge a little bit later on today, about 2 p.m. UK time. We're going to be recording Inside Arsenal Extra Time. That'll be published around 5 p.m. UK time later on today. So if you want us to discuss anything in that show, you got anything you want us to talk about, you know the score. Get down into the comments below. Start with Extra Time and then give me your discussion, your comment, your opinion. We're going to focus a lot of it on the North London derby. Of course, we'll be looking at some decisions that Mikel Arteta has facing in terms of what he might do with his team selection. So if you want to get involved in that part of the conversation, then just do what I just said down in the comments below. But remember to start it with Extra Time, so I know you want to get included in that show. Right, let's start with the news about Martin Odegaard, who, of course, flew home from Norway yesterday morning, was taken photos taken of him on crutches heading to his private jet to fly back to London, where he was going to have further assessment on this ankle injury that he suffered. Now, Norway team doctor Ola Sand has been talking to Norwegian media today, or maybe those comments were last night, but they've been published today in terms of the latest following that injury. So the sort of big points, he said basically that he doesn't believe from the MRI scans that they've already taken, the ultrasounds that they've taken, and the conversations they've had with Arsenal, is that there isn't a fracture, or there doesn't appear to be a fracture. Now, that is clearly very, very important. If there was a fracture, then you're looking at 6 weeks, 8 weeks, possibly for Martin Odegaard to be out. Early signs are, and I stress early signs are, that there is no fracture. They're pretty confident that he's escaped that. So that's a good point. That's a good thing. In terms of the injury layoff, he can't give a definitive time frame, but he's saying 3 weeks is the best case scenario. Anything else is a bonus. So that's not great. You know, if anyone's expecting him to be back for Manchester City or for Tottenham, I mean, that's just not going to happen, obviously. 3 weeks is still being looked at as a kind of best case scenario. More MRI images are being taken by all accounts. And yeah, further assessments are going on in London right now. But the key things from it is doesn't appear to be any fracture from the initial findings of the scans that they've taken. And yeah, they said, look, he said the ankle injuries are very painful right away. With Martin, it was extremely painful, and he became very worried in the changing room. Obviously, you could see the look on Odegaard's face when he was on the pitch. He was clearly very worried. He knew he'd done something pretty badly wrong. But certainly from what Arsenal believe from the initial assessments, according to Ola Sand, their assessments are in line with what the investigations carried out by Norway's medical team found immediately afterwards. And that was no fracture, and that, yeah, hopefully it is just no more than a bad sprain. But it is certainly looking like about 3 weeks out for Martin Odegaard. So that's the latest on that. I mean, I don't know if you look at that as good news or bad news. I suppose it has to be looked at as good news, because I have to admit, the first time I saw it, I thought he's broken his ankle. When I looked at that and I saw the images of it and the fact that his ankle was pointing in the completely opposite direction of what his body was facing, I just thought that could easily be a break. If not, it's going to be a major tear of the ligaments. So fingers crossed, 3 weeks will be a bonus. I think he also said, the Norway team doctor, also admitted that he and Solbakken, the Norway coach, basically know now already that it's very, very unlikely that Odegaard will be available for Norway at the next international break, which you think is absolutely a given, because even if it is 3 weeks, that means there'd be, just as he gets back, they'd be going away for an international break again. And Arsenal have got to put their foot down there and say no chance. So it'd be after that next international break, round about the same time Mikel Moreno should be available again for Arsenal, that we could be having Martin Odegaard back. Okay, moving on now to some other news doing the rounds. I don't know if you've seen this or not, but this is a pretty crazy story. So you can see the tweet in there, the story that I reported yesterday, that Arsenal being forced by the Premier League and PGMOL to wear their away kit on Sunday. Now, it's going to be the first time since I think it's 1985, I believe, that Arsenal will play at Spurs in their away kit. Normally, it's just a given. Arsenal play in red at Spurs. When Spurs come to Arsenal, they play in white. I think the only time I remember Spurs not playing in white was the 5-2 when Adebayor got sent off, the second 5-2 in a row in 2012. And they wore that weird sort of grey kit, didn't they? But other than that, they've always been in a white shirt and Arsenal have always been in a red shirt. But not this weekend. Arsenal being forced to play in their black shirt because the Premier League and PGMOL believe there's too much white in the Arsenal shirt. Now, I suppose you look at this picture that I put up on the screen and there is a fair bit of white in there as well. But frankly, I think it's utter rubbish. It's like there's no way on that pitch. And Arsenal offered as well to play in all red shorts. You know, we've seen them do that before in the past because Arsenal wanted to play in red on Sunday and they said, okay, we'll play in all red shorts then. And so you'd have the red socks, red shorts, and then you'd have a little bit of white on the side of the shirt. But apparently the Premier League and the PGMOL still think that's too much white and there could be a kit clash with Tottenham, which is utter rubbish. But it is what it is. I mean, it's nothing major, to be honest, but I just think it's pretty mad that they've been forced to do that. Tottenham as well, when they come to the Emirates later on in the season, this ruling means that they also have to wear their away kit at the Emirates later on in the season. So if you're watching the game on Sunday and you see Arsenal playing in black and you think that's a bit weird, why are they doing that? This is the reason why. PGMOL as well, the key match incidents panel at the Premier League, the KMI, as they are known, have unanimously supported Chris Kavanagh's decision to send off Declan Rice in that game against Brighton. Now, the KMI is a panel of 5. I think it's set up of 3 sort of former players or former coaches, and then one representative from PGMOL, one representative from the Premier League, and they all look at these sort of controversial match incidents, and they then vote on whether they believe that the right decision was taken. And the 5 in this KMI panel, whoever they were, have unanimously backed the decision to send off Declan Rice. And those findings were that, and this is quote from the report that has come out. This was reported by Dale Johnson, who obviously covers VAR and everything like that for ESPN, which I'm sure you've seen. And the report quote says, Rice knows what he's doing. It's a gentle touch, but once the referee sees it, he has no choice. That old line of he has no choice, which is quite frankly a load of utter rubbish. And it also says, quote, that the actions of Rice were clear, deliberate and impactful. Therefore, the referee was correct to send Rice off for a second caution for delaying the restart. So all the friends getting together to protect their mates, obviously, which is a clear case of that. And also I saw Dale replying to someone saying that about the incident when an Arsenal fan said, okay, that's right, Rice probably should have been sent off, that's correct, but I'll be interested to see if the exact same thing is done in the future when people delay the restart. And then Dale replied saying, well, it'll be interesting to see if the exact same thing happens in terms of Rice booted the ball away just at the moment that the free kick was being taken, which I just think is hilarious. Like, how does that differ from, how is that more of a delay in the restart than standing in front of a ball and not allowing the guy to kick it? It's just, all of it just seems to be putting together, just lines being put out to protect and future-proof against similar incidents that happened in the future where a yellow card is not given. And then they'll always be able to point to a slight little difference that they believe shows why Rice was booked and someone in the future won't be. It's just rubbish. It's just PJ, it's just a farce. The whole thing is absolute farce. But that's the latest when it comes to a couple of tidbits from the PGMOL and the Premier League. Okay, international action last night. Obviously, quite a few players from Arsenal involved. Bukayo Saka didn't play the full 90 minutes, which was good. Did start, which, is what it is. Against Finland, England winning 2-0. 2 really good goals from Harry Kane on his 100th cap. Win it for England. Declan Rice played the full 90 minutes. I thought he probably would, just given the fact that he's not going to be involved this weekend because of the suspension, that I thought he probably would play the full 90. And he did. Kai Havertz and Jurrien Timber in action in the 2-2 draw between Germany and the Netherlands. Havertz starting for Germany, Timber coming off the bench in the second half. Gabriel played the full game for Brazil as they lost again to Paraguay, 1-0 to Paraguay in the qualifiers over in the South America. Not a good run of form for Brazil at the moment. Really surprising when you look at the strength that they've got going forward as well. I think their front line was Rodrigo, Vinicius, and Endrick yesterday. Still didn't score a goal. Just really struggling at the moment, Brazil. But Gabriel did play. The most important thing is basically all the Arsenal players who did play came through it unscathed. No fresh injuries. Now all heading back. They'll be arriving back today. Maybe Gabriel will come in tomorrow, depending on what time his flight is from South America. I don't know. But you'd imagine Timber, Havertz and Saka and Rice will certainly be there today. And yeah, all preparations, apart from Rice, of course, now gear up for the North London derby. Just on internationals as well, Lee Carsley after the game last night was asked about Ben White and whether he's planning to speak to Ben White regarding him returning to the international fold. And Carsley said, "I've not planned to speak to White. We spoke about this in squad selection. Every player that's eligible to play for England is in with a chance. But as far as I'm aware, he has asked to not be contacted." And then Carsley, one of the reporters said to Carsley, was the onus then on White to ask to return to the fold? And Carsley said, "Yeah, it's important. We have real competition all over the pitch, and the more competition we have available to pick from, the better it is." So basically putting the ball on Ben White's court there, I think, saying, look, he wants everyone available to selection. And if they say they're available, then they're all under consideration. But until Ben White comes to him or is the message is relayed to England and to the FA that he is now available selection, then Carsley isn't going to select him. I'm just not. I know I'm a big England fan. I go and watch England games. I've travelled to World Cups. But if a player doesn't feel comfortable playing, and it's not anything about he's letting the country down. I've said this before. Just the whole way it's always phrased with footballers, and it just doesn't really bother me. If White doesn't want to play football for England, then he doesn't want to play football for England. It's a shame because I think he's a brilliant footballer, but it's not the be all and end all at all. And I really hope he doesn't get heavily criticised for it. I don't think he will. I think it's already a bit water under the bridge, to be fair. And look, for Arsenal, it's fantastic if he can just focus on week in, week out for Arsenal, and that's what he wants to do, then that's what he want to do. You've got to, players got to do what they feel happy doing. And if Ben White's happy just playing his football for Arsenal, then long may that continue. Okay, moving on to some of your questions and comments now. Lots of you get involved in terms of the North London derby this weekend. Goss there says, on your 4-2-3-1 formation, yeah, this is in response to what I was kind of leaning towards in terms of the selection for the game on Sunday. I said that I'd have the back four of White, Saliba, Gabriel and Timber. I would then play in a kind of 4-2-3-1 formation. I'd have Partey and Jorginho as two holders next to each other. And then I'd just have the front four of Saka, Havertz and Martinelli with Trossard as the false nine. And Goss says, on your 4-2-3-1 formation with two holding, pace up top could be crucial in this kind of setup. So as horrified as I'm surprised to be saying this, perhaps the three would work better with Gabby, Havertz and Saka, and then Sterling as the striker. He's played false nine, more pace than Trossard, and would be more useful in the press if we bother with it, which in your system, I don't think we should or would. I'm off to rinse my brain. I don't know why you're so bothered about suggesting that, to be honest. I think, look, if that's what he goes, I don't think he will, but if that was what he was to go with, I don't know why you're too overly bothered with it. I think it might work. And like you said, maybe that pace behind Tottenham's high line that they play could be crucial. We know that they play that high line because they're pretty confident that, oh my God, how have I forgotten his name? Who's the Dutch centre-back they've got? I can't believe I've forgotten his name. He's just unbelievably quick. Oh, God, honestly, my brain, you can tell I'm in my 40s now. Mickey van der Ven. Yeah, and because of his unbelievable recovery pace, and he is so rapid, Van der Ven, he really, really is. They play that high line and they're always confident that he'll be able to get back and cover if someone does get through. But maybe Sterling would be better at exploiting that space. I don't think Arteta would do that, but who knows? Joe says, lots of options available. Zinni can play at 8, Trossard at 10 or Timber in the 8. Big problem is Partey. He had 2 games for Ghana. Interesting to see how fit he is. Yeah, Partey did play both full 90 minutes for Ghana during the international break. A lot of travel as well. He's going to have to play this weekend, no doubt about it. I mean, he would have returned probably yesterday, which is Tuesday, and then you've got 5 days until the North London derby. So you'd hope that it'd be fine, to be honest. And Cross and Shoot said, it's time to stop messing around. We can play 5 at the back with Calafiori and White as the wing-backs, Gabriel, Saliba, Timber centre, Partey and Jorginho in front, play Saka in Odegaard's position, Sterling and Havertz up front and hit them hard on the counter. I mean, a lot of that would depend on if Calafiori's fit or not, which we're not sure yet. I can't see Arteta messing with the system that much to suddenly switch to a a back five for this one. I think he might tweak things in terms of having two holding sort of midfield, a double pivot, if you will, but I'm not sure he'd go to back five from the start anyway. It wouldn't surprise me if the game ends up like that, but I'm not sure about it from the start. Denler here says it was always going to happen. You sell, loan both VSR and Vieira, and of course Odegaard gets injured. The other thing is, even if Odegaard didn't get injured for the whole season, he can't play every game in the season. So what is Arteta's plan? Surely as good as Ranieri looks, he can't be expected to just jump straight in at the deep end and do what Odegaard does. The only thing I can think to do in this situation is play both Jorginho and Partey as DMMs, either with Trossard or Havertz as a CAM and striker, so they can interchange throughout the game as they did last season. Yeah, exactly. The thing on Vieira, and I said this yesterday, and I've said it myself, I was surprised they let Vieira go just because of squad depth more than anything else and options. And I've always been worried about the lack of cover for Odegaard. But the thing is with it, and I said this yesterday, that if Vieira was still here now and Odegaard has got this injury, I still don't think Arteta would have started Vieira on Sunday. And so I think he'd be on the bench and he might come on as a substitute, but I still don't think he would have started him, even with all of these injuries, even with Odegaard, Moreno, and Rice all unavailable. I just don't think he would have looked at Vieira and thrown him in for this game, which is probably a big reason why they decided to let him out, because he just simply wasn't in the plans for this season. But yeah, I get what you're saying, and lots of people have pointed out, and I've said it myself, I was surprised he was allowed to let go. But I think the fact that I just don't think he would have played this weekend anyway probably is the reason ultimately he was let go. I've had a few questions like this, or comments like this, or opinions like this, just bring in Rabiot, as Neil says here. I just don't see it. I mean, look, if Arsenal wanted to bring in Rabiot, they'd have brought in Rabiot by now. And the fact that they and no one else has is because they're obviously looking at what wages at the moment he's demanded and just thinking that it's too much. Now, Rabiot would have been offered to absolutely everyone because he's out of, these agents would have been to every top club in the Champions League saying, look, Rabiot is here, he's free, this is what we want, are you interested? That's just the way it works. And so far, Arsenal and no one else has actually gone near it yet. And what Arsenal won't do now is, if they didn't want him when everyone was fit, they're not going to go and sign him just because everyone's injured, because then when everyone gets back fit, they're left with a player that they're paying money that they clearly don't want to pay because they already know what he wants, and in a squad, and then everyone's back fit, and then you're stuck with a player that you don't really want, that you're paying loads of money to. So it sounds very simplistic to just say, I'll bring in Rabiot, now he's available, and Arsenal have got a couple of injuries in midfield. But then once those injuries come back, you're stuck with a player that you didn't want in the first place, and you're paying a huge amount of money that you're not going to be able to get rid of. So it's just not as simple as that, as just bringing him in. They're not going to sign someone that they don't really want just because they've got a couple of injuries. It's as simple as that, really. Right, that's it from me this morning. Thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it. As always, like I said, I'm back later on with James Benge, 2 p.m. UK time. We are recording that, so you've got a little bit of time to get your questions in if you want to get involved in that show. Until then, have a very good day, everyone. I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.